Not long after the North Korea-U.S. working-level nuclear talks in Stockholm ended without a deal, North Korea's Kim Jong-un made a symbolic visit to Mount Baekdu, triggering a lot of speculations regarding his political motives. This while the U.S. continues to show its willingness to re-engage in talks with North Korea while reaffirming the need for a final, fully verifiable denuclearization. Today, we go in-depth on the latest diplomatic strategies of Pyeongyang and Washington and the prospects of denuclearization talks. For that, Chairman of the East Asia Cultural Project, Kim Sang-woo, joins me in the studio. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Good to be back.
The U.S. expressed willingness to discuss the issue of North Korea's security guarantee this week, which is the first time since the talks in Stockholm fell apart. David Stilwell, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, said Washington will consider North Korea's security issues in the process of denuclearization. How do you see this?
Well, it's a signal that U.S. still wants to engage and hopes that there will be some progress in the denuclearization talks. But whether the U.S. will meet the North Korean requirements in terms of security guarantee is another matter. I think what the U.S. can offer North Korea at this present is maybe establishing liaison offices between Pyeongyang and Washington, D.C., and perhaps declaring the end of war kind of symbolic gesture. Other than that, it's very difficult to see what the U.S. can offer. On the other hand, North Korea wants much, much more than that. One is, in terms of military aspects, it wants the termination of all joint military exercises between U.S. and South Korean forces. It wants the strategic assets, military assets of the U.S. not to be deployed in Korea, in South Korea. And it also wants, these are conditions that will bring about the justification or the question of justifying the presence of U.S. troops in Korea. That's militarily. In terms of economically, they would want not only the lifting of sanctions, international and also unilateral U.S. sanctions, it also, North Korea wants the restoration of its economy, which has been deteriorated as a result of the sanctions. And politically, it wants the U.S. to establish diplomatic relations and do not intervene in domestic politics like human rights or the regime of North Korea. So these are demands that North Korea is making of the U.S., and I don't think that the U.S. can accept that.
You've just listed quite a few ways to ensure North Korea's security guarantee, but as you've pointed out, many believe that it'll be very challenging to come up with a way that could fully satisfy Kim Jong-un's needs in terms of security guarantee. Do you think it is possible to come up with a way that could fully ensure North Korea's security as well as satisfy the appetite of Kim Jong-un?
At the moment, it's very difficult to see a way out because it seems that North Korea is very emboldened by something. It can be various reasons. It can consider itself now a de facto nuclear state with more than 30 plus nuclear warheads. And it has the solid fuel ballistic missile technology, so it considers itself to be a force to be reckoned with. And also, it looks, the recent improvement in relations with China and even Russia has increased the economic support towards North Korea, which has become a major sanctions breach in the international sanction regime. But more than that, I think North Korea expects that Trump, in his impeachment situation, is weakest, and therefore it's the best time to get greater concessions from him, which I think is a miscalculation on the part of the North Koreans.
So the U.S. is openly showing willingness to brush upon the issue of North Korea's security guarantee. Expected reaction from North Korea?
I think if the U.S. is offering just the liaison office and declaration end of war, according to what North Korea did during the Stockholm working level meetings, I think they will decline it at one stroke. But having said that, Kim Jong-un may deliver another beautiful letter to Trump asking for a summit without working level preparation. But this again, after Hanoi, will be very difficult for Trump to accept.
Now, Kim Jong-un is making a lot of public appearances this week, and the image of him riding a white stallion up Mount Paektu, which is considered sacred in North Korea, has made headlines across the globe. And Kim is known to have visited Mount Paektu before making important decisions. What do you think this year's visit to Mount Paektu signals?
Well, it's approaching the end of the year clock, which Kim Jong-un has stated previously. He said that something has to happen by the end of the year, or he will think about approaching a new way. I think this is the event that brings about or brings that sort of momentum. But again, I say that I think the North Koreans are miscalculating the U.S. position as it did in Hanoi. I think the North Koreans think that the U.S. is eager to make some progress in denuclearization. They will accept anything that the North Korea demands, which is not the case. So if Kim Jong-un, as he says that during his Mount Baekdu galloping, stressed that the suffering caused by the U.S. has now turned into the rage of the people of North Korea, if it's a signal that he is thinking of a new way, and if that means launching a ballistic missile, ICBM, then Trump can quickly and easily terminate the friendly relationship, and we can go back to 2017 where hostilities were at its height. I think that's also possible because Trump is someone who can change his mind very quickly, and he is not going to jeopardize the conservative votes by appeasing North Korea during election time, especially under this impeachment situation, because he knows that the Ukraine scandal is the cause of all this, and it was again against the foreign government. So he's not going to gamble his position by appeasing North Korea at this time.
Right. As you've said, many experts agree that Mr. Trump is not in a rush and that time is on Washington's side and not on Pyeongyang's side. Now, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's visit to Mount Paektu comes soon after the no-deal working level talks with the U.S. and Sweden. What kind of message do you expect from Kim Jong-un on Pyeongyang-Washington nuclear talks?
I think it's a way of pressuring the U.S., saying that time is running out. If you want to reach a deal, then you have to accept what we're demanding. And the demands have increased, actually. In Hanoi, it was they were going to close Yongbyon nuclear facilities for exchange of sanctions lifting. But now he has increased that demand. He says, first, lift the sanctions, not just the international sanctions by the UN, but also the unilateral US sanctions as well. And they're not even discussing about closing Yongbyon facility at this time. This was what the working level Ambassador Kim Myung-gil said. So what has emboldened North Korea change its position like that in 7 months since Hanoi? One of the reasons I can think is that it regards itself now in a strong position because it has nuclear weapons. It's in its position. And secondly, the Chinese economic support due to US-China economic conflict has forced, in a way, pushed China to be very, very supportive of North Korea. So if it's sufficient economic support by China, then North Korea may be emboldened to take a risk, which can be, as I said, the launching of ICBMs or something to that extent. And third, as I said before, the impeachment situation has given North Korea an opportunity in its mind to pressure Trump, and he will back down and he will accept. So my assessment is that North Korea is making a wrong calculation, but it's making it all the same.
So in your perspective, North Korea is recently showing greater confidence, hinting that it has the upper hand in nuclear talks with the U.S., but that could be based on miscalculation.
Yes, that's how I see it.
Now, some claim that Kim Jong-un's white stallion ride up Mount Paektu could signal another provocation by North Korea. Your take on that?
I think the stallion is a beautiful horse, but it's a bit of an effort for riding that massive person.
Kim Jong-un does look quite big on that horse.
The horse looks quite small in comparison. But having said that, I mean, the pressure that North Korea intends to put on the U.S. and South Korea is that, yes, we are going to seriously consider, and self-reliance, we can handle our situation economically. So I think this is by Chinese support, economic support, enable that. But it's pressuring, if U.S. does not comply to their demands, then they will take a very strong measure, which
I will have to stop you there because I have a very interesting last question waiting for you. The historic World Cup qualifier match between South and North Korea took place this week in Pyeongyang, but it wasn't televised live and the huge stadium was basically empty. What do you think is North Korea's intention? Well,
firstly, 2 days before the tournament, the match, North Korea had this 70th anniversary of the Sports Day nationwide. And it said, under the leadership of the Kim family, North Korean sports has become world-known and very strong and powerful. But 2 days later, to lose in a match, which is the major sport of North Korea in soccer, at a stadium that is named after Kim Il-sung, to South Korea, is unacceptable. That is one of the reasons why no spectators. But for the other part, where the live broadcasting and foreign journalists not being permitted, is actually a signal to South Korea and President Moon in particular, I think. Because Kim Jong-un is very angry at President Moon for using North Korea without consulting North Korea. Various aspects. Firstly, in 15th of August this year, during the Independence Day anniversary, he said that in order to overcome the conflict between Japan and the economic war, we will create a peace economy with North Korea, without consulting North Korea. North Korea didn't ask for this. Secondly, 24th of September, in the UN, President Moon said he will establish an international peace zone in the demilitarized zone. Again, Kim Jong-un was not consulted. And then recently this month, he said, we will try to have a joint Olympic with North and South Korea together. Again, North Korea was not part of this idea. So in a way, Kim Jong-un is saying, stop this using North Korea as your political gain domestically. That's my take.
All right, that is all the time we have for you. Okay. Thank you for your insights tonight.
Thank you.